Okay, Brent,
Okay, Josh.
this is Speak Now or Whatever. This is our hijacked interview with Dan Bailey and Laura Jane Grace.
Laura Jane Grace.
Yep, how'd that happen?
So I have known Dan, who was the baritone sax player for the World Inferno Friendship Society, based out of New York in the early 2000s. He originally came and stayed at my house, was looking for a job, got a job.
Yes.
We convinced him to move on our street. Years later, he opens up an art gallery down the street from both of our houses. He's just an all-around great guy. He's one of my favorite guys. He was in this band, and evidently they did a lot of touring with a lot of ska, punk, hardcore bands.
Yeah.
You know, they were kind of in that element of just an eclectic group of people playing incredible music, all types of different instruments. Just a fun type of band. So
Right.
I said, Dan, we would love to do an interview with you. So his plan was to basically take the Zoom link that I gave him and send it out to old band members and, some of his friends. And he did. And there was one person that showed up, and that was Laura Jane Grace. So who is Laura Jane Grace?
Laura Jane Grace is the singer and songwriter of punk rock band Against Me. Now is on her own, writing songs and putting out records. But I felt like this entire interview was a prank on me. When Laura Jane showed up in the Zoom link or, the Zoom meeting, it just felt like I've been pranked.
Yeah.
Like, she's here, no one told me.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, it's just Dan and her talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's Dan and Laura talking about World Inferno Friendship Society.
Yeah, and that's actually what makes the interview so special is it's very rare that you can have someone of another band that admired your band
Yes.
come in on an interview and talk about touring together, the inspiration that you had on them. And so it was great to hear that from Laura Jane Grace and how much of influence the late Jack Terrycloth had on her life.
Right.
And you'll hear that. There's a few stories that she talks about, but it was great to hear. We don't hear with, Speak Now or Whatever. We love open conversations in regards to tours, music, all these types of things. And so it was fantastic to see this kind of take a different turn than what we're normally used to.
It's true. Yeah.
But yes, it was completely hijacked.
Right. And it was completely hijacked, but just to hear Laura just heap praise upon Dan's band, his former band, World Inferno Friendship Society. And the fact that, she talks about even the inspiration that she had with writing another song, a very famous song of Against Me. So just for a little bit of context here, this is a sample of World Inferno Friendship Society. And we didn't even get to spend any time really talking about Against Me.
No.
Just for like maybe a couple seconds. But just to hear the influence was really, it was exceptional.
Yeah. I think that was fantastic. But yeah, love to have both of them on.
So this is our interview with Dan Bailey and Laura Jane Grace.
dude.
Oh no, it's meat, Bubba.
Oh,
Not a Boca is the one you're.
I'm thinking of Boca. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I ate about like 1 billion of those when I was a teenager, for sure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, nice work with Bernie Sanders the other night. That was impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been kind of wild, the fallout from it. I didn't even really realize until last night, like just how many like right wing outlets had picked up on it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I definitely had already been getting death threats, but I didn't realize the splash it had caused. But I don't know, fuck them, you know.
Totally, yeah, yeah. I will occasionally just to see what they're pumping out to the masses. Look at Fox News, you know.
Yeah,
just to see what they're saying, not to support them. But I was like, holy shit! Like they're riled up about Laura Jane Grace. That's amazing, you know.
I work out at Planet Fitness pretty often, and at Planet Fitness, there's always the TVs on with like Fox News, CNN, or whatever. And then I've been like waiting. I wanted to see it for myself on the news or whatever, but I haven't seen it. But it's interesting, like seeing the juxtaposition between like the channels when it's literally like TV by TV by TV, and like who's talking about what or the way they're framing it. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, scary in an interesting way.
I have a quick request. Is there any way that we could like record the video with you on this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I have an actual selfie ring here. Huh?
Nice.
Whoa,
that's awesome.
Like, man, let's get the lighting really right.
We don't have that yet here in Alabama.
Wait, where are y'all at?
We're in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, right on.
We're all at your show at Saturn.
That's right.
Well, I'm jealous of your proximity to Reed's Books, which is maybe my favorite bookstore in the country.
Yeah, it's a great bookstore. When was the last time you were there? I guess when you were in town?
Well, earlier this year, I think at some point we passed through not playing and went to Reed's. And then there's this, like, I forget the name of the restaurant that's like on the outside. It's like on the outskirts where it's an old style buffet and you get the tray and you like pick out what you want, and it's like a heaping pile of food.
That sounds like Fifes.
Money. What's that?
Sounds like Fifes.
Maybe it's been there since like forever, and it's like incredibly vibey and like just like actual like it's like a brick in your stomach afterwards, but it's amazing.
Well, you got to come back someday soon.
Sorry to need to get too moody. There we go. Now we're really lighting up. So
there we go.
Being neurotic with the light.
So with the Bernie Sanders thing, was that just a one-time event, or was there like a tour with that? Are you going to be performing any other of his talks? Or?
No, well, I think at this point, definitely not. But
oh man,
no, it was just kind of a one-off thing. But he's doing a tour. It's called it's like fight the oligarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's campaigning for president or anything like that. He's just going out there basically being like, fuck the oligarchy, and like people should be pissed off. But I did it one of his events back in 2020, like literally 2 weeks before everything shut down with the pandemic. And so that was my first time doing it. And then like I have a friend who like works for his campaign, but it's pretty cool because in general, like he seems to have like a good amount of punks that work for him.
Nice.
And like,
I can see that.
I don't know, like that says something, right?
That's incredible. Well, I just want to say that this is a total surprise. Dan had not mentioned anything about you being on here.
I didn't know who was going to call in and who's not. I sent the link out to.
Super great to have you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah,
so,
happy to speak on the subject. I was
Yeah.
So that's great. All right.
So, I mean, in theory, the show tonight, hopefully we have some ex-band members calling in. We're talking about the World Inferno Friendship Society, which is a band I played in for 7 years. I joined by virtue of the policy of the band being like whoever showed up with an instrument got to be in the band. So I got in on that through luck and not skill. And then the band kind of coalesced into, some really great musicians that I was lucky enough to stick around and play with. And, I'll tell some stories later about how sort of I tried to compensate for my lack of musical skill and, contributed to like antics, pyrotechnics, mischief and that sort of thing. But yeah, the band was all about mischief. and mayhem and chaos. And for those who don't know, our singer, beloved singer Jack Terrycloth, left this earth a few years ago and ascended on to the next level. And he's greatly missed. He's a person we could really use in times like this. He was a true rabble rouser, a true rebellious, shit-stirring, true anarchist, and true defender of the disenfranchised. And is someone calling in?
Sorry, I had a timer set.
But yeah, if you need to go, just give us the signal.
There's a pizza in the oven. I did not mean to interrupt.
Okay,
but
that's important.
Absolutely true and absolutely beautiful.
That's a big deal.
But Jack Terrycloth. He we wish we had him today. He could really be a voice for everything that's going on in the world, and I miss him. The band is no more. There were probably 1,000 people that passed through the band. Invited a few of them to call in tonight, so hopefully we get some guests. And Laura Jane, do you have any Jack Terrycloth, World Inferno memories, lore, legends you want to share?
So many, yeah. And I'll tell you, I was on tour in Europe this past November with the one and only Ingo Ebling.
Ingo!
For those of you who don't know, like Ingo is a legendary figure in the punk scene in Germany and Europe, known for like really fostering like DIY touring over there and like bringing so many bands on their first Europe tour. He brought Against Me on their first tour over there. And he like had, owns a couple vans and like had a backline of equipment and knew a couple people that could take bands out and drive them if he didn't drive the tours himself. And I know that before Against Me started going over there, that he was doing the World Inferno tours. So that was kind of like touring with Ingo was the first time like we heard Wind, even of the band name. And it was I just remember so distinctly, it was such a compelling band name, even just the like World/Inferno kind of gave you like, for a moment, you're like, wait, how do I say this? Right. Or like, but like, there was just like such a mystique too, with all the imagery and Ingo like always spoke so highly of the band and like, and I won't tell the story of you all flying over there like the day after 9/11, but that was a story that he was talking about when we were just over there and we were talking about Jack and telling stories. And, I think Against Me's first meeting with Jack and with the World Inferno is like legendary status at this point where we were all booked on a festival in New Jersey. I think it was the Skate and Surf Festival.
Yeah, in Asbury Park, yeah.
In Asbury Park. And I'm pretty sure like we were playing the next day actually, but we went because World Inferno was playing and we wanted to hang out, right? And so we like all were hanging out in a dressing room before the set, I remember, and drinking red wine. And like a lot of this is just going to be like I'm spewing here, so I apologize. But like I remember a distinct moment too with I think it was Semra, where like I was maybe 22 years old at the time, right? And so before we had gotten there, we had toured out to the West Coast and met up with Fat Records people and said we were playing a show with World Inferno and we were excited. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I heard like the girl from that band pulled a knife on somebody recently.
It's true. At Gilman Street, she pulled a switchblade.
Yeah, it was at Gilman. They said that, but it was like the added context was that it was totally deserved, whatever it was. Like she was a badass for it, but it was just this. We were all like, whoa, And so like we're getting there, we're there, and we're hanging out, and we're drinking wine. And I remember Semra asking, like, we were like talking about our like personal stuff or whatever, and she asked me if I was like, or it came out that I was married, and she said like, oh, that's too bad. And it wasn't like in we should sleep together, some type of thing or anything like that. I immediately in that moment realized it was like, I'm fucking lame. I am nowhere near as free as these fucking people are. Like, it is I want to be like these people. Just like immediately the energy in the backstage room. So anyways, we all hang out and like, it's a good time. And then like set time came and there was some kind of issue with like a band running late before World Inferno. And it was Snapcase playing afterwards, right? So like World Inferno starts a set and it's maybe like, 4 or 5 songs into the set or something. And like, I guess it ended up being the tour manager for Snapcase, like runs on stage like, you're done, or something like that. And I remember in the band being like, nah, fuck that, we aren't, and kept on playing. And then he started flipping off amps. And like, I remember Lucky going back and flipping on amps. And then Jack, like, I think like smashed the mic stand into like the monitor. And then it was just a fight on stage. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, like all of us and against me, it was kind of this mutual, like, look at each other like, well, we know whose fucking side we're on. And we just like jumped into it,
Yeah.
And ended in complete chaos. I don't even fucking know if Snapcase played. Who the fuck cares? But from then on, it was just like, I've been such a fan and admirer since. Mm-hmm. And we had the opportunity to tour together then again in, I think it was 2008. And I regret that tour, like in so many ways, just like personally, I was fucked up. I was like drinking so heavily and I was like doing a lot of blow. And it was like weird because we were on a bus and everyone else was in a van and like we had our major label record out. So like we just had stupid schedules and I wasn't like really getting to hang out that much. But I remember like one hotel party in particular that was like pretty wild. I remember like Lucky sitting in a corner and like at one point he's like, no, man, we're all dead or something like that. And like everyone was dying laughing. But like, I just have all these like random memories of run-ins or moments in rooms being with everybody in the band and with Jack and conversations with Jack. And, the last time I hung out with Jack was in 2014. Against Me played on Letterman. And afterwards I wanted to go out and like party. And I was like, well, I know I'll call Jack. And like, so Jack came and like met me at some bar and we ended up in some club and I don't even fucking know what happened. And we never even said goodbye. The night just like faded into oblivion and that was it, but absolutely heartbroken that Jack's no longer with us, and absolutely like a one of a kind character and the type of person who like, I don't know, it like made you kind of sleep easier knowing they were out there. Okay. And I'm sorry, there's a fucking car alarm going off here.
That is very clearly a message from Jack from beyond. Like we summoned him and he tried to break it. There's a car to be stolen on the street. So he's,
100%. Yeah. And I mean, the like all the mythology surrounding Jack too, which was never something that like Jack wasn't like boastful about it. It was just like stuff you'd hear bits and pieces of, or even like the lyrics in the song of like putting together like, okay, so Jack was like, got into some kind of trouble with like threatening to kill Reagan or something, like all this stuff just added to his mystique always, and like just like as a performer, like completely incomparable, and like terrifying in the best way, and someone whose lyrics like I just will always admire and like quote to this day too, especially as a like heavily tattooed person, like I quote tattoos are gonna fade all the time. Like, and it's true, right?
Amazing. Yeah. The Snapcase fight was quite an event. Like I remember that. Like I was playing sax. I was like, I had this 1 second decision, like, do I use this as a weapon or do I was like, no, I jumped over. There were like some risers. I jumped back. I put the horn down. I jumped back in. And it was like looking out on like a Hieronymus Bosch painting. Like it was like a sea of like stunned and confused faces going off into the distance. And on stage, it was like, I just remember like, Semra and Mora are both black belts. And I just remember them like being in position, like, come at me, motherfucker. I'll tear your fucking esophagus out, and like Jack, like wielding the mic stand and like fists flying, and like I just jumped in. I was like, yeah, Against Me is on our side. We got this. And I just jumped in, like got some guy in a headlock, hit him in the face, some other guy hit me in a headlock, and just like I couldn't talk for a couple days afterwards because my neck got so scrunched. But yeah, it was just wild. And then it was over. The security just busted it up.
When Dan originally told me this story, I thought it was the most outrageous thing I'd ever heard in my life. I was like, what are you talking about? Against Me and Snapcase is all just fighting on stage with you guys? How does that even happen?
That's when you hung out with Jack Terrycloth. Chaos ensued.
Love it.
Yeah. And the amazing thing too is that it was like a subconscious thing that I think we all understood, that like looking at all of you, like you're frail and skinny as fuck, right? Compared to like Snapcase, who are all like, they're fucking Snapcase, beefy burly dudes. But in that moment, there was like no question in my mind of like who would win in the fight, just like it was amazing, like the projection of like danger or like that was there with the band in general. Like it was like just so fucking cool. And so goddamn different from everything that was happening out there. And then it was like interesting too to see like kind of things musically that happened around you all that like were obviously like directly influenced by it, whether that's like feeling like Dresden Dolls kind of like, like had that thing, but like there wasn't that same sharpness to it, like like a smartness and like the danger to it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean,
that's what drew me into the band. That's why I saw them play once and I was like, I will join this band, because it scared me and confused me, but I got it. And I was like, this is, like you said, dangerous. I was like, I want to be a part of that.
And it's interesting too, like where everyone in the band was like their own character. And I don't mean to characterize you, or anything like that, but almost like cartoon character-esque in a great way, but like completely individual cool, and like brought their own kind of thing to it. And like, especially, and I don't mean to disparage like later lineups with the band, but just especially like that first lineup was just like, so like the original lineups that were like, it was really like something special and something magical. And, with Against Me too, like around 2011 for about a year and a half, Franz from the band toured with us playing
That's
keyboard
right. Yeah.
and playing accordion. So it was cool getting to spend time, touring with Franz and getting to know him better. And it's really funny actually now, like where I live in Chicago, there's a coffee shop here called La Colombe, a couple locations in town. And for some reason in the one in Andersonville, there's just a life-size fucking picture of Franz on the wall. And it's been there for like a decade. So anytime I go in and get coffee, I'm always like, what's up, Franz?
That's so cool. Yeah, I've gotten to know Franz like better in recent years. We've done a couple shows. We did that classic, I don't know what you want to call our lineup. I usually just say the classic lineup or the cool lineup that everyone loved. We did that one-off show, one night only, when Jack was still around. That was pretty epic. How's my sound? Am I too quiet?
You're a little too quiet. That's okay.
And then I don't know if you know Laura Jane, but last Halloween we got together, the 8 of us, and played a show in New York without Jack. And we did, from start to finish, we covered Chumbawamba's Nevermind the Ballads album.
Amazing.
And divided up the vocals between all of us. And, because there's a lot of voices in that band and on that record in particular. So, it was a really interesting night. Everyone got to, it's like we didn't use the band name. It was very respectful to to Jack's memory. He wasn't being replaced. We didn't play any of the old, well, we did play one of the old songs, but, it was really a special thing where we kind of all got to know each other on a whole new level. And a lot of people in the band have gone on to live like healthier lives. They have children and homes, and a lot of them have chosen sobriety. And I don't know, everyone just seems very healthy, very happy. And it's cool. We're like talking about getting together more often. So
that's rad. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, like the way time changes you and the way you I don't know, thinking back to how it was back then, you know, like that period in time really, I don't mean to be that person, but like it feels so unique in retrospect. And I guess that's like even like a question I would have for you of like it always kind of blew my mind, like just with how many people there were in the band, like the logistics of it seemed like they had to have been like, I'm sure it was like stressful to keep it fucking going or to be touring with that many people, you know?
Yeah. I was talking to Franz about this recently, and we were just like, yeah. And somehow everyone decided to invite their boyfriends, girlfriends, partners to join us all at the same time with no strategic planning. It's like suddenly the population of the band doubled for a week. And then, you know, no one planned anything. No one had any like strategy. It was just like complete embrace of chaos. And yeah,
it almost doesn't really seem like it'd be possible for the band to have, like if y'all were starting now, you know, to exist in this era, just because of the logistics of it. Like you hear people talking about it all the time on the road with like the way merch rates are, or even the gas, and like even the way touring vehicles have changed. Like you can't even buy the old school type vans in the US anymore, you know?
Yeah. I think we're very like of a time. Yeah. And the thing I've been thinking about recently, when you're talking about that band only existing in the time it existed and not being able to like really be conceivable anywhere else. And I've been thinking about this with the Snapcase fight legend. That a lot of that just went like undocumented, you know, like if the Snapcase brawl had happened a year later, everyone would have had a smartphone out recording it because the very next year, everything got recorded always.
Yeah.
So I feel like there was a certain era of like World Inferno and the legends that came from it being like sort of the end of the age of legends, when things still got passed around through hearsay and like tales were told and passed on through like oral tradition. I feel like we are at the end of a period, at the end of the age of legends and into the age of documentation.
I agree 100%. I mean, on so many levels, because even just like, you know, from a visual aspect, like that impact of like not knowing what you all looked like and then seeing you all for the first time and your fucking mind is blown, right? Because it didn't look like anyone else then, you know, like you didn't look like the fucking Strokes or anything like that.
Yeah.
But now if it was all constant, you know, selfie posting on social media, like it takes away from that. And also just even thinking that like, you know, no one has the experience anymore of like, yo, I got this American band CD in Germany. Check it out. You know, like this is the only place I could find it. I got it in Hamburg, you know, like no one everything's so instantaneous now.
How often did you guys tour in Europe?
It was probably once every couple of years.
That's it? Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I did one tour. I did 2 tours of Europe while I was in the band. So like twice every 7 years. And I missed the 9/11 tour because I didn't get on the plane. Everybody else did. So,
right on. Yeah. I think you just you have to understand too, like the kind of aura and like reputation that World Inferno had in Europe in particular and in Germany, like, and still revered, like, and it was just like the way people talked about the band or talked about the shows, you could always tell it was like, this is a thing above, you know, like an experience that is different that you could have. And like thinking back to even that era of like early 2000s, late 90s, like squats in Germany in particular and in Europe, like you just like those scenes in time don't exist anymore. Like the Age of Legends being over and the age of that kind of having come to an end too. And it's sad because like those were incredible experiences, and it seems something like so completely out of time, and like just like you're basically in these like stone dungeons that are like mildewy and it's filled with cigarette smoke, and there's the gnarliest looking punks you've ever seen, and then there's fucking World Inferno dressed like it's the 1940s there. You know?
I love it. It's funny because the Get Up Kids, we interviewed them a few weeks ago, and they actually mentioned that, where they were like staying in like this giant palace, and there was just like a half pipe in the middle of this ballroom, and it was just a squatter place. It was just one of those places that they stayed.
That was their first time in Europe.
Yeah.
Well, and they have the album Kicker, which is a total reference to that experience, because you'd go over there as an American band, couldn't speak any English or couldn't speak language or whatever, and there was always a foosball table, which is called Kicker over there. So everybody just gravitates to the foosball table, and we would get beat for years, and then eventually we got pretty good, you know. But you come back from touring Europe, and you're all like, "Yeah, it's Kicker, everybody. We call it Kicker now."
Say it right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Talking about Age of Legends, like I'm thinking back to like when I joined World Inferno Friendship Society, like, and this would be impossible today, but it was not yet a band. It was still a mischief cult that played music. And there were no photographs allowed of the band. The image of the band could never be circulated. No one was allowed to use their real name. There was this, and I think it was like anonymity is the key to subversion was sort of the mantra.
Yeah.
And so we'd show up in a town and like we'd get some old photo out of like a 1940s scrapbook and put that on the flyer.
Peter Lorre or something.
Yeah. So like you'd literally come into town, no one knew what we looked like.
Yeah.
Because there was a very rudimentary internet, and we didn't allow pictures of the band to be taken or circulated, and no one was allowed to use their real name. So it was like total anonymity. Like, can you imagine today? Like, it's impossible.
Yeah. And I'll say another thing that always added to Jack's mystique was like, for me, you know, Bouncing Souls, like maybe second show ever or something like that. They were one of the opening bands. And the Johnny X 7-inch, like that song fucking changed my life. Like that song is incredible. And I would play along to that song and listen to it. So I like that. And that was like a made up character to me. And then I remember being like 18 years old and my girlfriend at the time, like explaining to me that no, like they were a guitar player in this band Sticks and Stones. And then making the connection of like, oh, Jack was in Sticks and Stones. Holy shit. Like just was like the coolest little bit of punk rock information to know as a young punk, you know, like, and to make that connection. And like, I mean, it is like, how cool is that for fucking real, you know?
Yeah. And like, that's the organic way I found my way to the band was like I wasn't from New Jersey. I was like living in Texas, but I got the first Sticks and Stones 7-inch and I was like, this band, wow. And then, moved to New York years later and just started asking around like, hey, is Sticks and Stones still playing? Like, is that still a band? And people would be like, no, like Pete's got a new band. They're really weird. They're called like the French Firemen's Association or something. And like, it's weird. I was like, is it like Sticks and Stones? They're like, no, it's weird. You won't like it. I was like, I want to see this, you know? But yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, the organic vinyl paper trail to find your way to the people you need to find.
Yeah,
love that much these days.
So you moved to New York in what year? When was
97.
97?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you joined the band how long after that?
98.
Okay. Wow. So it wasn't long before you found your niche and got involved, right?
Yeah. I was playing in like, it's kind of like band with these mod girls who were like, it's called The Panic. and kind of was a great band, but not really going in any direction. And then I was like, I found World Inferno, and I was trying to do both at once, and I was like, World Inferno are my people. So
that's awesome. Laura Jane, were you a part of the album that they put out where they covered the songs?
Oh, the Jack tribute album.
The Jack tribute album.
Unfortunately, I was not. I wanted to be, but
yeah. Well, maybe there'll be like a volume 2.
Yeah,
that might actually be a good idea.
They're good songs, man. I think I'm proud of what we did, and my small drop in the bucket contribution to the songwriting. I'm very proud of the songs. I remember at the time being like, these are great songs. Someday someone's going to recognize these. And they've had a long comet trail that people still seem interested. So
should we dare mention the Gogo Bordello situation?
If you would like to.
Okay.
That was what kind of meant too. That was another band where it's like, obviously like, it was like, but it was like, it felt plastic comparatively, not to knock them or anything. I'm sure they're nice people, or maybe they aren't. I don't know. But
I'm glad to have your perspective because, you know, for some of us, like we've only ever known Gogo Bordello. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on. There was this other band doing something very not similar, but kind of like came from that type of feel of like Eastern European, like, so like, what was that like?
Well, the rivalry started very early. We were aware of them. We went to see them play. We're like, these guys are really cool. We like what they do. It's kind of like what we do. We should do shows together. So we had our big annual Halloween party where we played at Good Bad Art Collective in Brooklyn. And it was our night. We called it Hallow Mass. We always headlined and then curated like some cool bands we wanted to play with. So we reached out to Eugene, bless him, and we're like, hey, by the way, this is all hearsay. I was not the person on the phone. So we're like, hey, we're doing this big Halloween thing. It's a big deal. Why don't y'all open for us? And Eugene's response was, we'll play, but we're going to headline and you're going to open for us. And we were our response was like, well, this is our party and we're inviting you. So we're going to headline, but we'd like you to play. And he was like, no, thanks. Hang up. So that's kind of when the rivalry kicked off.
Ouch.
And then, Jack being as, Jack was just such a no compromise, us or them, with us or against us, in the best way possible. It was like, well, they are now our sworn enemy band. We need to defeat and destroy them.
you got to bring the team together.
Yeah. And like, I mean, looking back, like, okay, I love a good rivalry. It's fun. It keeps things interesting. Like, I don't think there's any real ill will between the bands. But, whether it's like, Beatles or the Stones, Sex Pistols or the Clash, whatever,
It's like an Echo and the Bunnymen U2 thing,
Yeah, totally. And we were Echo and the Bunnymen.
Yeah, 100%. But and I mean that in the best way. But in like I like Echo and the Bunnymen have more depth. The lyrics have more depth. And when it comes down to it, unfortunately, like that, like usually ends up being the less commercially viable of the two, right? And that's what really made World Inferno special. And what made it work is that it was like the politics behind it, specifically the anarchist politics behind it, and the way it was presented in conjunction with like the dress, references to that period of time. I mean, look at where we are now. Like we had been in the Weimar up until, like now fascism is fucking here, right? And the party is fucking over. And I don't know, like it was just like really smart and it stood out.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I'll wrap up the sort of epic of World Inferno versus Gogo Bordello stretched on for years and, was a heated, very public rivalry. And the decision was made. They invited us to open for them at Irving Plaza. And there was a debate in the band. Some people were like, fuck them. No way, never. We won't open for them. And then other people were like, hey, it's a good opportunity to expand our audience and make some money. You know, stupid practical people. But anyway, a vote was taken or whatever, and we agreed to open for Gogol Bordello. But we're like, okay, but we're going to blow them off stage and completely, you know. So we had a really fanatical, rabid group of fan base, you know, who went to every show and got tattoos and knew all the words and like lived and breathed World Inferno, you know. You know, kind of a cult in the healthiest possible way. But our fans were very dedicated. And of course they came to that show. So we played our best. We put on our best set, you know, set the bar high. We're like, okay, Gogol Bordello is going to have to follow that. And what we didn't plan for was the complete disruption that our fans caused when Gogol Bordello went on stage. They really, you know, Gogol Bordello had a certain crowd that maybe didn't slam dance or stage dive or, you know, they were a bit calmer, and our fans immediately went to the front and circle pit and stage dive and chaos and standing on shoulders and like, yeah, really made a spectacle. And we had this one fan, Alex Hare. He's a very successful artist now. He does Death Traders. But he was really at the core of our fan base and, you know, wanted to do a good deed for us. And Eugene Hutz at the time was known for, he had this very trademark cap. It was like a sort of Eastern European army cap with a red star on it. And he was known for that. It was his trademark. And of course, he was wearing it on stage. So Alex Hare, he's like, I'm going to get that hat. Jumps on stage, goes up to Eugene, grabs the hat, jumps into the crowd, stage dives, immediately gets kicked out of the club, but he's got the hat. And then so he comes to our next rehearsal, and he's like, I bring you an offering. It's the scalp of the enemy chieftain. We're like, yeah, all right. And so we, in the wall of our practice room, we just stuck that to the wall with a dagger as a trophy. And it was, you know, there in our practice room. It was like a victory trophy for many years.
That's amazing. You know, speaking to that real quick, like you said cult twice, and I believe that. But like the thing was, is like it was like a collective. It was always my impression, and that's what was really great. Is what it invited everyone in, and everyone kind of felt like they were a part of the band. And like I'm still in touch with like people who I met through the band, and it feels like the type of thing where it's like, you know, if the society really fell apart, apocalypse, whatever, like if you still had your World Inferno patch and you like flashed it to somebody, it'd be an unspoken like yes, you know, like the bond still holds, you know, like like you were in a secret society is what it felt like, and that was cool as fuck. And
cool.
It's like
That's
a fight.
awesome.
It's like a Fight Club thing.
Yeah.
You just nod at each other.
first rule of Fight Club is have a glass of red wine.
Yeah. And then smash that glass.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if anybody else is calling in.
That's all right.
Is there anybody in the
big deal.
queue? Is
I'm
there
not
like
seeing anybody.
Is there like
I
a
don't know.
wait list? They're unpredictable.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of crazy kids.
Yeah. Laura, I want to tell you this because Brent and I, who do this podcast, we talk a lot about discovery on this. I'm switching gears from World Inferno just for a second.
Go.
You can come back
your show.
anytime.
It's your show.
Anytime. But you mentioned a little while ago about, you know, discovering something like, you know, I have this 7-inch and no one else has it. Like I have this thing that no one else knows about. I discovered your band Against Me here in Birmingham at this CD shop back when there were CD shops, and walked in there with my tip money from the coffee shop. And the guy that ran this CD shop here in Birmingham, so this is over 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, he would always have a habit of anything that you picked up in the store, like you'd be thumbing through, like looking at artwork and stuff like that. Anything that you picked up, he would look at you and say, "Oh man, that's you. You need this. You have to have this." Anything. It could be Tori Amos. It could be Seal. It could be Three Doors Down. Doesn't matter. One day I walk in there and I see Reinventing Axl Rose. And you guys had just released it, I think. And I pick it up and he does the exact same spiel. He goes, "That's you, man. You need this. This has got you written all over it."
He was right.
Hey, I'm not joking. He was right. And I turned all my friends onto it. Right and on. Then not long after that, you guys were here all the time. Like your band was here all the time here in Birmingham. And I know that Andrew played bass, from Alabama as well. But you guys were here all the time, and then we were always there. And so it's really, really interesting because at that time I was sitting there going, I need to find something that reinvigorates why I love punk music. And that was the thing at that time.
Right on. Well, I'll say, and I'm not saying that this person was a pretentious record store clerk or whatever, but like,
no, he was actually a criminal.
Well, but it's become like a trope, right? Like the pretentious record store person, and like people bitch about that and why they don't like to go to a record store because people judge their selections or whatever.
Yeah.
And like I flipped on that a while ago, where I'm like, no, like we need those pretentious record store clerks. Maybe
we need them.
Maybe you should be challenged a little bit in your selection and feel confident enough in like, yes, I do want to buy this record.
Yeah,
Maybe you need that as a growing experience, and it's a good, healthy part of it,
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm in Chicago, so there's still a really, good amount of record stores here. But there is something that like I miss about like those days for sure, and I'm all here for the pretentious record store clerks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but what it goes back to though is I had no other way to find out about you except for that.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a Spotify. There was nothing else. It was just like I picked something up, listened to it, hadn't seen you play yet, but getting introduced to something for the first time blindly.
And like also, how much cooler was the band before you even fucking knew what I looked like?
Right.
I knew my fucking opinions and shit, right? Like
that's it.
Now it's like I get it. If someone hates my online personality, it's like fucking fair enough. Like I'm doing this because this is what you got to do now to fucking promote this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't know. Like I hate to be that person who's like back in the day, but like damn, back in the day it was cool, right?
It was cool.
But it was cool too because I guess at that time you were in Gainesville. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's interesting to me to see the proximity of locations where you have fan bases that grow. So like particularly here in the Southeast, knowing Against Me, but also in like the New York area, knowing World Inferno Friendship Society. So it's interesting because I didn't really know anything about these guys until Dan decided he was going to come down here and interview for a job. He's staying at my house.
Yeah.
For like 3 months, and then he starts talking about all these types of things like ska music and all these things, and I'm like, Dan, I love you. Live here forever, please.
Stay here.
And so it's great.
Yeah, and you had that like here we are talking pre-internet times, right? But like the ability for like regionally for bands to develop or scenes to develop where the influences were really so random of everybody sharing records as opposed to Spotify saying, listen to this today. Mm-hmm. And it's telling everybody to listen to that today. So like, I don't think like World Inferno could have started in fucking Birmingham, like at the same time, like it was like, I don't think they could have started in California, right?
Yeah.
Fuck California. But like,
yeah.
Talking about the sharing of music, the organic personal sharing of music, like riding in the World Inferno van was like an education. And like, I don't know, like I played in punk rock bands and everyone wants to listen to the same tape over and over again and doesn't want to hear anything new. And they're like, bless the Clash, but they're like, let's listen to the Clash again. I'm like, okay. In World in World Inferno van, we listen to the Clash a lot, but someone could be like, hey, I'm really into Balkan brass band music. You want to listen? Everyone would be like, yeah, put it in. You know, no one was ever dismissive of anyone else's music taste. Everyone was like, oh, you're into Northern Soul? Let's check it out. Oh, I never heard that before. I never listened to Kate Bush, but Eula was like, growing up, the only thing I listened to was Kate Bush. So she just like played Kate Bush and educated us all, you know? Or I'd be like, hey, anyone like New Model Army? And they'd be like, who? And I'd be like, Brent. And then everyone would be like, this is great. You know? So that organic, like that was like a really unique, the van rides were a really unique musical education. Because the only time there was once that a cassette was, so Lucky, who always rode shotgun, and I always tried to drive as much as possible so I could control the music. But I don't remember who was driving, but Lucky's like, it's my turn to play some music. And he put in Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, and it didn't get past the guitar intro. Jack, from like the back of the van, catapulted himself forward, hit eject, grabbed that tape, rolled down the window, threw it out onto the highway, and he said, we're not listening to that goddamn redneck music in my van.
Redneck music.
Yeah.
Right on. And that reminds me, like, I remember reading in an interview, Jack's talking about Against Me, where he like praised the music, but then he was like, but then they had to put that fucking asshole on the cover and give it that stupid title or something. And I 100% agreed with him then. I read that. I was like, yeah, you're fucking right. You're right.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
And the amount of diversity, too, within your band, right? I mean, being from New York, you guys are all from different cultures, different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of helps meld those things,
Yeah,
right?
it's like a true sort of melting pot analogy.
Yeah.
Like,
Love that.
everyone came from all over, different parts of the world, like different musical tastes, and like everyone was like super, like everyone was so weird and unique that we just like all accepted each other. And we're like, you're just as weird and unique as I am. So let's, Anyway.
Put it in the mix.
Let me ask, because I'm curious, like, did you all ever get approached by a major?
If we did, I didn't know about it.
What about like Fat Records or Epitaph? Like, what was there ever, or like, was there a gold label where you all were like, it would be cool to be on this fucking label, like back early 2000s?
Gosh, I mean, there was a weird period where there was some tension in the band versus the let's get signed versus the let's not get signed.
Right.
Factions, and there was a bit of like, I remember like sitting in a meeting and being like, this producer we were working with was like, you need your songs to be radio ready. And that became kind of a catchphrase, like radio ready. Mm-hmm. I was like, I was already kind of on my way out for personal reasons at that time. And that sort of soured me a bit that anyone was taking that seriously. And I kind of retreated out and went on my own way. But yeah, in hindsight.
Have you read Franz's Band People book?
I just finished it. It's so good.
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. I recommend it to everyone.
I read it too. It's really good. But it's like, it's interesting reading a book where it's like, band members from bands that you were in, or
you get mentioned in there. Yeah.
Essentially about you, where like you wince sometimes and you think about it, but then you like realize like, oh, all the archetypes exist in every band, and it's, every band is the fucking same, all equally dysfunctional, just in their own beautiful ways. Like, it's a good book.
Yeah, it's really good. Everyone go to your local independent bookstore and order Band People by Franz Nicolai.
Bingo.
Yes.
Done.
Now we know.
We've been going about an hour. Should we wrap it up?
Sure. Yeah.
Night?
I mean, whichever you guys want.
Right. We've actually been trying to get you, Laura, for a long period of time when we started this podcast. So I feel like I've been punked tonight. Have I been punked?
Where is it? Ashton?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out because
Still say where's Ashton?
when we started
right.
when we started this podcast, we were like, reach out to Laura, and we did, and it was just a run around. We couldn't figure it out, and also we didn't really know what we were doing at the time when we began. But yeah, I feel like I've been punked in the best possible way tonight.
Well, you don't want to talk like my shit's boring. Like I'd much rather talk about World Inferno.
Yeah.
Here's another thing,
Yeah.
an interesting fact. I will admit to and cop to the Against Me song "Miami" is absolutely me trying to write a World Inferno.
No
song.
kidding.
There's
Which
the
is a
whole-
terrific
in
song.
the bridge part, I was like, I want to fucking write a song that sounds like World Inferno. Miami is absolutely that song.
Okay, now I
Love
know.
it.
Go back and listen to that
I will.
within that context.
In the World Inferno context.
Okay.
It's
Well,
fantastic.
Thank you so much for calling
Yeah,
in.
thank
Yes.
Really
My pleasure.
appreciate you
It's really
taking
good
the
to
time.
see you, and it's really good to meet both of you. And yeah,
Absolutely.
good to catch up and talk some stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
Absolutely.
let's
Tour
do it
back
again.
south again.
Right on.
See you
Take
soon.
care, y'all.
Love.
Thank you.
We'd like to take the time to thank Workplay here in Birmingham, Alabama, for allowing us to record and edit our episodes in their dedicated podcast studio. If you or someone else you know is interested in starting a podcast without the hassle of purchasing equipment, please reach out to Workplay at workplay.com.